We all have an instinct for danger. It's that prickle on the back of your neck when you feel someone watching you. It's the feeling that something in your room has moved, just an inch, while you were gone. Usually we dismiss it. We tell ourselves we are just tired. We tell ourselves we are imagining things. But what happens when the evidence is right there in front of you? What happens when you wake up to find handwritten notes on your desk, notes that you don't remember receiving? In 2015, a man turned to the internet for help. He believed he was being stalked by his landlord. He believed his apartment was being invaded every night while he slept. He came looking for legal advice, but what he found was something far more terrifying. He wasn't being haunted by a person. He wasn't being haunted by a ghost. He was being hunted by an invisible killer that might be in your home right now. This is the story of the most famous mystery in Reddit history. Our story begins on a quiet afternoon in May, 9 years ago. A user, who we will call the OP, logged on to the legal advice subreddit. His post was titled, "Landlord coming into my apartment while I'm asleep?" It sounded like the plot of a thriller movie. The OP lived in a somewhat shady apartment complex in Massachusetts. He described his landlord as weird but harmless, or so he thought. Recently, the OP had started finding post-it notes left around his apartment, yellow, sticky squares of paper attached to his desk, his chair, and his walls. The messages were cryptic. They said things like, "Get out," or "Check the vents," or sometimes just random strings of numbers. The most disturbing part? The handwriting looked eerily familiar. It wasn't his handwriting, but it wasn't completely different either. It looked like someone was trying to copy him. The OP was a rational man. He didn't believe in ghosts. He assumed the landlord was using a spare key to sneak in, mess with his head, and force him to move out. So he decided to set a trap. He bought a webcam and set it up to record his desk while he slept. He also installed software to track if anyone used his computer. He went to sleep, confident he would catch the intruder. But the next morning, the trap had snapped, but it was empty. When he checked his computer, the webcam footage was gone. The recycle bin was empty. The tracking software showed nothing. Even worse, he found more notes. Someone, or something, was smart enough to delete the evidence. The OP was terrified. He felt completely exposed. At this point, we need to pause and look at the situation from the outside. When the OP posted this story, not everyone believed him. In fact, many people suspected that the villain wasn't the landlord at all. They suspected the OP was losing his mind. There is a modern psychological phenomenon known as targeted individuals or gang stalking. This is a delusional state where a person believes they're the victim of a sophisticated, organized plot. They believe the government, their neighbors, or secret societies are moving objects in their home, hacking their devices, and leaving them secret messages. To a mental health professional, the OP's story ticked every single box for paranoid schizophrenia or a dissociative episode. Think about it. He claims files are being deleted. He claims notes are appearing. He claims the handwriting looks like his own. Was there ever an intruder? Or was the OP suffering from a severe mental breakdown, unaware that he was the one writing the notes? The internet was watching a man unravel in real time. The suspense wasn't just about who is the stalker. It was about whether the OP could even trust his own brain. The comments section exploded. Thousands of users flooded the thread with theories. Everyone wanted to play detective. Let's look at what the community was saying back then. The fear was contagious. One user, let's call him security expert, wrote, "OP, this is classic gaslighting. Your landlord is trying to make you think you're crazy, so you break the lease. Change your locks immediately and buy a physical camera that saves to an SD card, not the computer." Another user suggested a cyber attack, saying, "It sounds like a rat, remote access Trojan. Someone has control of your PC. They're watching you through the webcam right now and deleting the files remotely. Put tape over your camera lens now." The OP was reading these. He was getting more scared. He was ready to buy a gun. He was ready to barricade his door. But amidst the noise, the panic, and the wild theories, there was one quiet comment. A comment that didn't come from a lawyer or a cop or a tech expert. A user named Cockerlack posted something that seemed completely unrelated. They noticed a tiny throwaway detail the OP had mentioned earlier. His bedroom was small, windowless, and felt stuffy. The comment read, "You mentioned that you have a very narrow bedroom with no windows. Is there a chance that you are not getting enough ventilation when you sleep? You might be suffering from carbon monoxide poisoning." This brings us to the dark history of haunted houses. In the Victorian era, specifically the 1920s, there was a massive spike in reports of ghosts. People saw figures at the end of their beds, they heard voices, they felt a heavy demon sitting on their chest. Historians now know that this wasn't paranormal, it was plumbing. This was the era when gas lighting was introduced to homes. The pipes often leaked. Carbon monoxide is odorless, colorless, and tasteless, but when it enters the bloodstream, it starves the brain of oxygen. The result? Vivid auditory and visual hallucinations, dread, paranoia, memory loss. The ghosts of the 1920s were symptoms of poisoning, and the OP was living in a modern-day haunted house. The OP read the comment. He didn't argue. He didn't wait. He went to the hardware store and bought a carbon monoxide detector for $20. He brought it home and plugged it into his bedroom wall. In a final update that shook the internet, he wrote, "I plugged it in. It immediately went off. The reading was 100 parts per million. 100 parts per million, a level that causes confusion, memory loss, and eventually, death. There was no landlord. There was no stalker. Every night, the OP was being poisoned. In his confused, semi-conscious state, he was writing the notes, he was deleting the files, and by morning, the gas had wiped his memory clean. He was haunting himself. He was rushed to the emergency room and treated for long-term exposure. If that Reddit user hadn't noticed that one detail, the OP likely would have died in his sleep within the week. We often fear the unknown. We fear the stranger in the dark, but this story serves as a chilling reminder that sometimes the most dangerous things are the ones we cannot see, hear, or smell. The simplest explanation is usually the right one, but sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. The OP survived because of a stranger's kindness and a $20 gadget. So I have one question for you before you go to sleep tonight. When was the last time you checked the batteries in your carbon monoxide detector? If you enjoyed this mystery, please hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the internet's darkest corners. Stay safe, and thanks for watching.